Gatorade just changed the game. And I'm not talking about a regular sponsorship. They didn't just sign Shedeur Sanders, they handed him the most powerful marketing throne in professional football, global face of the NFL, 2026. And the moment that announcement dropped, the entire sports world stopped scrolling. Every comment section exploded. Every sports radio host had an opinion. Every analyst who spent the last year questioning Shedeur's future suddenly had nothing to say. Because when a brand like Gatorade moves like this, it doesn't leave room for debate. It leaves room for one thing, only the truth. And the truth just hit the entire football world like a freight train. Let that sink in for a second.
Stuff just kind of just went away. So you agreed that it was slander?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was horrendous. It was horrendous.
It was character assassination. Yeah. I think that.
So it's okay for me to feel some type of way about the NFL. You would understand.
I without a doubt.
There you go.
There were things that were said about Shedeur.
There was lies that were told.
Boy, you think? Watch this. You think? Courtesy of ESPN, by the way. You think that Coach Pride would be talking this spicy?
Lose the edge, lose the target on your back, Shedeur Sanders says now. And that mindset might be the exact reason the sports world just froze in disbelief. Because right now, there's massive online buzz claiming Shedeur Sanders is tied to an alleged $80 million Gatorade endorsement deal, the biggest rookie sponsorship deal the NFL has ever seen. And the wildest part, it didn't come from a highlight reel. It didn't come from throwing 5 touchdowns.
Most athletes take the $60 million check and run. Shedeur reportedly didn't. Instead of just cash, he secured a 3% ownership stake in Gatorade USA. 3% sounds small, until you remember Gatorade makes billions. That's not endorsement money, that's equity. That's generational leverage. While others spend endorsement checks, he's building ownership. And if that stake grows, he's not just a quarterback, he's a shareholder in a sports empire. And that changes everything.
Before we dive deeper, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a second of this unfolding QB drama. Gatorade doesn't hand this out like candy. For over 5 decades, this brand has built its identity on the backs of the greatest athletes to ever lace up. Champions, icons, legends. The kind of names you teach your kids about. The kind of faces that defined entire generations of sports culture. When you see that Gatorade logo next to a name, it means something. It has always meant something. It means that out of every athlete on the planet, out of every competitor fighting for visibility in the most crowded sports market in history, this brand looked at the landscape and said, that person right there is the one. And for 2026, out of every starter, every Pro Bowler, every established name in the entire league, they landed on Shedeur Sanders. The same Shedeur the draft machine tried to downplay. The same one anonymous insiders called a risk. The same one they ran those tired old narratives on attitude problems. Too flashy, too confident, too much. The same one certain corners of the media tried to paint as a liability before he ever took a single professional snap. Gatorade just responded to every single one of those takes, with a 9-figure budget. Publicly. On a global stage, and there is no walking that back. Let me be specific, because the mainstream coverage is completely underselling this. Global face of the NFL inside Gatorade's marketing structure is not a limited collab. It's not a regional campaign. It's not a one-off social media partnership where an athlete posts twice and collects a check. It is the absolute centerpiece of their entire NFL strategy for a full calendar year. Every major broadcast, every stadium activation, every retail placement, every international market from London to Tokyo to Sao Paulo, one face representing professional football to the entire planet for 12 straight months. That is not a small decision. That is not something a brand like Gatorade does on instinct or impulse. Gatorade doesn't guess on this. Their research teams spend sometimes over a year running data, focus groups, and deep cultural analysis before they commit at this level. They study engagement metrics, demographic reach, international market penetration, and that intangible thing no spreadsheet can fully capture: authentic connection. The kind of connection that makes a consumer feel like an athlete is speaking directly to them. The kind that builds loyalty not just for a season, but for a lifetime. When they ran that full analysis on Shedeur Sanders, what they found reportedly stopped the room. His fan base doesn't just index high with traditional NFL audiences. It cuts across age groups, cultural communities, and geographic markets in a way that very few athletes at any stage of their career have ever achieved. It reaches international audiences that the NFL has been aggressively trying to penetrate for years. without the kind of organic traction that Shedeur generates just by being himself. His social engagement numbers don't just beat other quarterbacks in his draft class. They outperform veterans who have had a full decade of professional visibility behind them. Numbers that brands pay consultants millions of dollars to try to manufacture. Shedeur produces them naturally. And here's the specific moment that insiders say locked Gatorade in completely. After his very first NFL start, a reporter asked what he took away from the game. A lesser player gives you the standard confidence speech, talks about proving doubters wrong, talks about the chip on his shoulder. Shedeur went somewhere completely different. He talked about footwork, about timing windows, about how fast the NFL game moves compared to anything he had experienced before, and how much more there was still to learn. Humble, precise, completely focused on growth. No PR firm wrote that answer. No media trainer coached that response. That was just Shedeur Sanders being exactly who he is. And that authenticity, that genuine, unmanufactured, unscripted connection with people is the single most valuable thing any brand can attach itself to in today's market. Every major company in the world is hunting for it right now. Billions of dollars are being spent trying to find it, trying to create it, trying to buy it. Almost none of them ever truly find it. Gatorade found it, and they moved fast. The negotiation timeline on this deal alone tells you everything you need to know about how urgently Gatorade wanted this locked in. A partnership of this scale normally takes close to a full year from first conversation to public announcement. Multiple rounds of creative approvals, lengthy exclusivity negotiations, image rights cleared across dozens of different international markets, legal reviews that go back and forth for months before a single signature lands on a page. Gatorade and Shedeur's team closed this entire deal in weeks. Not months, weeks. That is not normal. That is $1 billion brand sprinting because they knew the window would not stay open forever. Every major beverage company was paying attention to Shedeur's rise. Every sports nutrition brand. Every lifestyle label with a serious sports vertical. The market was watching, and the market was moving. Gatorade didn't sit back and wait to see who else showed up to compete. They walked in, made the strongest offer in the history of first-year NFL endorsements, and closed the room before anyone else could get a seat at the table. The financial terms haven't been fully disclosed publicly, but multiple reports describe it as the largest first-year deal Gatorade has ever structured for an NFL player at the beginning of their professional career. Not adjusted for inflation. Not comparable to past deals in different economic environments. The largest. Period. Full stop. That number alone rewrites the entire conversation about what a young quarterback can command in the endorsement market before they have a full season of professional football on their resume. Now zoom all the way out, because if you are only reading this story as a sponsorship announcement, you are missing the much bigger picture unfolding in real time. What Gatorade did here is something that no draft board, no anonymous source, no coordinated media whisper campaign can ever undo. They took the narrative that the league's political machinery spent months carefully constructing the narrative that said Shedeur was a liability, a question mark, a player whose personality and presence needed to be managed and minimized, and they dismantled it completely. Not with a press release, not with a carefully worded statement. They dismantled it with a 9-figure global marketing commitment attached to his name, on a global stage, in front of the entire world. You cannot be the global face of the NFL for the most iconic sports beverage brand in history and simultaneously be a character concern. Those two things absolutely cannot coexist in the same sentence. Gatorade doesn't put question marks on their bottles. They don't put liabilities on their sideline coolers. They put icons. They put the athletes who define what professional sports looks and feels like to the entire world. And in choosing Shedeur Sanders for 2026, they sent a message that travels far beyond the boundaries of this single deal. They validated something the sports industry has been remarkably slow to accept, that your cultural authenticity, your real and unfiltered connection to a community, is not a problem to be handled in professional sports. It is an asset, one of the single most powerful and valuable assets in the entire modern sports economy. Every young player coming up behind Shedeur is going to point to this moment. Every agent sitting across the table from a front office that is trying to minimize their client is going to reference this deal. Every brand strategist trying to understand where sports marketing is heading over the next decade is going to study carefully what Gatorade recognized in Shedeur Sanders before the majority of the football world even caught up to what was happening. Shedeur Sanders, but everybody that never played nothing in their life don't. Why is it Emma Smith like Shedeur Sanders, Hall of Famer, Chad Johnson, Oinko, borderline Hall of Famer, Standing Sharp, Hall of Famer? We talk about Deion, right? We not talk about Kurt Warner. Seems like Tom Brady likes him. Drew Bledsoe likes him. Eric Dickerson likes him. This is just off the top of my head. This ain't even like Joe Thomas likes him. Is greater than. And here's what I respect most about how Shedeur Sanders carries the weight of all of this. He doesn't schedule press conferences to remind people of what they said about him. He doesn't go live on social media to read the doubters back their own quotes with a smirk. He doesn't keep a running list of people who counted him out so he can wave it in their faces when the wins start stacking. He just keeps building. Quietly. Deliberately. Consistently. Stacking wins and letting the scoreboard do the talking until the gap between where he started and where he is becomes so undeniable that the narrative collapses under its own weight. That is Coach Prime's fingerprints all over his son's approach to both the game and the business surrounding it. Deion Sanders didn't just teach Shedeur how to read a defense or how to go through progressions under pressure. He taught him how to read a room, how to read a market, how to understand that the people making the most noise in the doubt business are almost always the furthest removed from where the real action and the real decisions are actually being made. Stay focused. Stay disciplined. Keep building. Let the results do the embarrassing. Right now, the results are doing an enormous amount of embarrassing on Shedeur's behalf. Close, plus CTA. Think about the complete arc of everything that has happened here. The draft process tried to shrink him and reduce his value before he ever played a professional snap. The market responded by making him one of the most coveted brand assets in the history of professional football. The league's own political machinery publicly questioned his character and his readiness. The most trusted and recognized sports brand on the planet just placed his face at the center of their entire global campaign. The analysts called him too confident, too loud, too much of a distraction. Gatorade looked at that exact same person and said he is precisely everything we need. And the fans, the ones who showed up for Shedeur when the narratives were at their most vicious, the ones defending him in comment sections when the takes were ugliest, the ones who never wavered, even when the sports world was at its most dismissive. Those fans are a direct and undeniable reason this deal exists at this scale. Because Gatorade's research team saw that fan base and immediately understood what it represented. Loyalty at that level is not bought. Passion at that depth is not engineered. That kind of authentic two-way connection between an athlete and his community is the foundation that a campaign of this magnitude is built on. So in a very real sense, the fans didn't just witness this moment from the outside, they helped build it from the inside. This deal is a chapter, a massive, landmark, history-making chapter. But it is not the ceiling, not even close to the ceiling. Because what we are watching unfold with Shedeur Sanders is something that only comes around once in a very long time. A rare convergence of elite talent, magnetic personality, cultural momentum, and sharp business instincts all arriving at the exact same place at the exact same time. When that happens in professional sports, no draft board sets the ceiling. No front office politics set the ceiling. No media narrative sets the ceiling. The player sets it himself. And based on everything we have seen from Shedeur Sanders so far, he hasn't even looked up at the ceiling yet. So let me ask you directly. Gatorade named him the global face of the NFL before he has a single, full professional season on his resume. Does that tell you that brands see something real, that the league's own system was quietly designed to hide? Or did the NFL's political games accidentally manufacture the greatest underdog story of this entire generation, one that is now worth hundreds of millions of dollars in brand value and growing by the day? Drop your answer below. I am reading every single comment. And if you want the next chapter of this story the moment it breaks, no spin, no outside agenda, no watered-down version of events. So, don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin.